Hello, and welcome back to a Timey-Wimey pod where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onward. My name is Rebecca,
I'm Hailee.
and today we will be discussing the Series 1, Episode 2, End of the World.
Yes, we will, which I don't know about you, but I love this episode so
Me
much.
too. And I think this is the first time I've really watched it in a while. Like I've watched it but kind of have it on the background, and I've really sat with this one. So I really enjoyed it. Not to spoil.
No, same. I've enjoyed it too, and there is something we'll get to that I did not notice until this
Ooh.
rewatch of the episode, which is insane because I've watched this episode several times now, but for me it's like would I put it in like my favorite Doctor Who episode ever list? No, but it is like a fan
No.
favorite of mine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's Nine and Rose's first adventure together.
Their first date.
They're on a spaceship. It's yes, their first date.
Oh,
There's iconic characters that we see later on. It's a good time.
it is a good time. And this episode aired on April 2nd, 2005. How old were you, Rebecca?
I was four.
Same. I was also four. Um, we also forgot to mention this is our second ever episode.
It is.
Yes, and we do apologize if there's any weird things with Rebecca's audio. We've been having issues tonight.
Yes, we have been. It's been a technical, difficult film night.
Yeah, we're like starting an hour later than we were supposed to.
I know.
But you know
It's
what?
okay.
I feel like we had to have one of these moments. It has to happen.
It's a rite of passage, I feel.
It is. It is a rite of passage, and your audio actually is not terrible right now. So,
Well, at least there's that.
yeah. So, the end of the world. You
The
told
end
me
of the
that there was
world.
some you told me there was some fun facts you had.
Yes. So this was at the time this episode aired, it had featured more CGI than any episode of Doctor Who had up until that point.
That's
Uh,
insane.
I know. It's so. I wonder what the most CGI filled episode is now.
Oh my gosh,
Probably. I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if it was you know what? It might have been like Jodie's run.
Yeah, I could see that. Russell T Davis was inspired to write the character of Cassandra while watching the Academy Awards. He was reportedly very concerned over how skinny the actresses were, and he said it felt like we were watching people starve themselves to death. Um, which at the time, yeah, that's not too that's kind of fair. So I thought it was interesting that that's where he got the inspiration for Cassandra.
Very interesting.
This is also the first episode to feature the psychic paper.
It is. I noticed that too in this episode, and I love the psychic paper.
I love the psychic paper too. It's my favorite. And that's all the fun facts I have. Did you have any?
I had one, but it kind of goes with your first one a little. My
Mm-hmm.
fun fact is just that this episode was the most expensive to film in series 1 and to
Mm.
create, and allegedly Russell, like, I mean, give the man some credit. Like, this was his first science fiction show, but the rumor is that Russell blew the budget on this episode and the rest of series 1 suffered, which I would not have guessed.
No, it doesn't feel that way. I mean, this
No,
is
it
definitely,
doesn't.
you can tell, this episode has a big budget. There's a lot happening, but the other episodes, to me, don't feel more cheap than I would expect.
I agree. The first episode we recorded about the episode of Rose, we kind of just went all in, talked about everything that came to our minds instantly. Do we want to do things chronologically? Oh my gosh, I missaid this word in our first episode too. Chronologically. Sorry, guys.
I say we can try going chronologically, but if things happen, things happen. If we have things to say, we have things to say.
Everything's in flux.
Exactly.
That was so.
Um,
Wow. Okay.
one thing we can mention: this episode starts exactly where Rose ended. Like Billie Piper is like it. It starts and it looks like she just jumped onto the TARDIS.
It does. So it's not like there was like a moment in between where her and the doctor like stopped and like went to 5 different planets before this. Like this was her first trip. For her first trip with the doctor, he takes her to the end of the
He
world.
said, let me take you for you to watch your home planet be destroyed forever.
He really said
That's where I'm going to take you.
he really embraced his inner Regina George and decided to make Rose see the world burn. That was like the worst Mean Girls reference.
That's so funny because I was going to ask you, during the episode Toxic by Britney Spears plays as the world is burning. What song would you listen to while watching the world burn?
That's a great question. And the answer is I
Because
don't
I
know.
was thinking that's so fair. I think I would listen to World Burn from the Mean Girls musical.
You were seriously thinking that?
I was when I thought of that question, I was like, might as well go all in.
That I love that. Yeah, I would probably do World's Burn for by the way, Mean Girls isn't just a movie. It has a Broadway musical and that's what we're referencing. Um I would do World's Burn. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think what others I really there's not like an easy song to choose to watch the world burn.
I would also listen to Toxic because Toxic in that scene, it really hit. It worked really well.
It did work really well, and I love that they used Toxic. It's such a great song.
It is great. Going back to the beginning of the episode, I love the little flirty scene of Rose being like, "Let's go 100 years in the future," and then they do it, and then he's like, "A bit boring," and then they just keep like he keeps trying to like one up himself. It's so flirty. It's so I couldn't take it.
I loved I love that too. And I just love how like this episode truly starts her teasing him and giving him a hard time. She brings I feel like she helps make the doctor feel a little bit lighter with that.
I also love she's not afraid to call him out. Like I love when she calls him out for making cheap shots about the deep south. Like she'll yell at him and she's not afraid to.
Yeah, so I love Rose so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
Um one one of my favorite lines is in this episode. It's when they get to Satellite 1, is it called?
Yeah, Satellite 1.
There's a lot of satellites in this season.
Yeah, I was really confused because I was like, "Oh my gosh, is this the first time we see Satellite 1?" No, I got it mixed with the Satellite 5 that we see later in
Yeah.
this series.
Yeah. But I love when they're looking out at the planet and he talks about you spent all this time thinking about how you're gonna die by eggs or meteorites or whatever, but you never take the time to think that maybe you might survive. And I don't know. I love that quote from 9.
I love it too. Um, Going back a few minutes, I love how this is like the first episode we see of the Ninth Doctor flying the TARDIS. And he's so dramatic flying the TARDIS. It's iconic and I love it. And I love that it doesn't stop for each Doctor. Each Doctor is just as dramatic, if not more.
They're so dramatic, especially David Tennant. Like watching him just fly the TARDIS is so funny.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of when I was saying
Yeah.
that.
And then they they get to the satellite and then we get to meet all the other aliens who are coming to watch the world burn. And
We
we get to meet
do.
the tree people who I love. We
Forest of
meet.
Cheem. We meet Jabe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, love Jabe. We meet the
Mox
face
of
of Boe.
We do meet the Face of Boe. We also meet the Mox of Balthoon. And,
Mm,
last but not least, we meet the iconic, the legendary
the last human,
Cassandra.
Cassandra. Um, Nine's Bria. I noticed for the first time his reaction when Cassandra comes in is hilarious. He is like a giddy child laughing. It's so funny.
I know. I noticed that too. I love how he's just like so happy to be there and be among like all of these different aliens while Rose is just like, what have I walked into? Like,
I
what
know.
is
Rose
going
is really
on?
having a culture shock moment.
She is, which I kind of like that she did
I
like
think
this
it's
whole episode.
valid.
It's
Yeah.
very valid because if you think of her shoes, she's like young. She's like, what, 19 in this episode?
19, yeah.
This is her first time being around other aliens besides the doctor. And so this is the first time we really see her realize, like, oh my gosh, I came with this man called the doctor. I don't even know all about him. And I'm here, like, billions of years away from, like, my home. Like, what did I do? And I kind of like that we have that. And I
Me too.
feel like it adds to her character growth. And I feel like it's just a very realistic depiction.
I love when she's talking to Rafalo, who's the plumber girl, and she's like, I didn't even think about it. I don't even really know him. And I just came in, and we see her kind of freaking out for a second.
We do. And I also love how with Raffaello, she's like, who are you? Like, where are you from? And just like talking to her like she's normal. And Raffaello responds and is like, thank you for the permission to talk. And Rose is like, what?
Yeah, she like can't even, she doesn't even understand. Rose does this a lot. She loves having a little like side chat with another girl. She'll randomly find someone to talk to, and I love that about her.
Same.
Yeah. One thing I noticed in this episode, we do not get to talk to the face of Boe, like at all.
No, they don't really talk to the Face of Boe. No, others do, except to accuse him. And we'll get to that moment in a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't. All we hear is one thing from him later on in the episode.
Yeah. And it's just funny because he comes back like two more times in this show.
He does.
And
Actually,
then becomes
wait,
connected to.
hold on. Big spoiler. If you haven't watched through to series 3, you're about to be spoiled.
Yes.
Okay, go.
We find out he is maybe actually Captain Jack Harkness later on in Jack's life. So it's just so funny that this character has so much lore behind him, and this is his first episode, and we don't even talk to him. He's like, if he doesn't come back, we would forget about him completely.
No, 100%. And I really love that the Face of Boe has so much lore now and
Mm-hmm.
that he came back. Because I just think it's like so random, but such a fun character. Just
Me
like a
too.
giant
I
face.
agree. A giant face and a jaw.
Uh,
Um, in this, going back a little bit, in this episode, we get the iconic "I give you air for my lungs" line,
lungs.
and I love that. I love Jabe, how she was just giving clippings of her grandfather. I thought that was fair. Imagine if you were just giving pieces of your grandparents to someone at a party.
That would be very random. Also, I love that jukebox scene where they just like bring out this jukebox and they're like, look, this is what like the archives say was an iPod.
An iPod. That jukebox looks a little familiar. That's all I'm gonna say.
It does look familiar, and we're talking about that because it may or may not pop up, you know, in a TARDIS of a future incarnation.
Uh, yeah. Um, love that shoebox. I Rose freaking out at the party. We've already talked about this, but she is me at a party. She is really just wandering around trying to find someone to talk to. Uh, yeah. She's so relatable.
She is. She goes and she finds an empty room that she can just sit in. And then, the doctor comes in and. Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention there's these mysterious spider thingies that we see that are
Yes, the
like
little
robot
robot
spiders
spiders.
that were like, what's going on? I think the first time I saw this episode, I just thought they were like, I don't know, a part of like surveillance or something.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I didn't think they meant anything until they
I'm
started.
confused how they got Ruffalo. Like, how did they pull her in? Like, her
Yeah,
death didn't make any sense to me.
I know. Okay, so Raffaello, as we were talking about, was like the electrician or
Hmm.
something, right?
They
Electrician,
called her
right?
the a plumber.
You're right, plumber. And she goes in because like something wasn't working correctly or something. And then she sees these robotic spiders and she's like, what are these? And then they come and they take her and they like pull her into like this air duct, which you're right. I don't know what they did. Maybe they had like poison or something.
Maybe, I don't
But
know.
it's such a pointless death.
It is. It's so sad. She was so nice.
I know. I never realized. I always forget like how many people die in
I
Doctor Who
know.
until I watch the show
Yeah.
again.
We need to talk more about the big like argument scene between Rose and Nine because I
Yeah,
love that scene.
me too. That's what I was going into talking about, and then I got sidetracked because I remember I forgot to talk about the spiders, which I don't love spiders in general. I hate them, but robot spiders are okay because they're fake.
Yeah, they're fake. It's okay. I would rather have these robot spiders ruining everything than actual spiders.
Oh, 100%. A hundred
Yeah.
percent. Okay, so back to the room. Rose is in there. The doctor comes in.
He's the way he sits is always so funny to me. I like why is he sitting
Is
like
it?
that?
I didn't
But
notice
he's like
anything.
laid on his side, leg in the air. Like it's so random, but I love it.
That is random. You are right. I didn't even think about that.
But I love when she starts calling him out and she's like, "Who are you? Like, where are you from?" And he's like, "It's not like you would even know what it is. Like, why does it matter?" And I just love the back and forth. And then they get mad at each other, and then um, he fixes her phone, and they just start doing that little like, what did they say? Like, they had a little like flirty, laughy moment, and while he's fixing the phone, and it's just very cute.
Yeah, I don't remember like what they said at the end, but I do like that he fixed her phone so she could call Jackie her mom. She just like
Yeah.
needed that. But then we also in this scene she finds out about the TARDIS, how it like translates everything to English, so that's how she could like understand all the aliens. And she's like, what do you mean it's in my head? You didn't even ask me if I wanted the TARDIS in my head. And the doctor's like, I didn't even think about it. And like that just like adds to her freak out. And she's really in all the stages of grief and
Look,
bargaining.
taking a girl to watch her planet explode, not a good idea.
No, it was not smart. It was not smart,
No.
Nine.
Yeah, you could have taken her somewhere. I was thinking about who has had like the best first adventure, and I'm not sure. All of their like first, not the episode they're introduced in, but the like next episode, like their first big outing, uh, they all have like kind of dramatic, crazy ones.
They do. I would say honestly the one I feel like the one that's the best is Partners in Crime with Donna.
Do, but does that's kind of the episode she's introduced in as the companion. Like I would figure consider their first big thing Fires of Pompeii.
Oh. I mean, oh yeah, that one is really dramatic.
Yeah. And then
I
for
see what you're
Martha,
saying.
it's when they go see Shakespeare, which that's a good one, but a lot of people die. And then Amy, they go on the spaceship, and there's stuff going. Anyways, we can move on.
Anyways,
But
we're
um,
sorry, we could keep going.
yes, I won't keep going. But this is definitely up there. It's probably a pretty traumatic first outing. Probably
Traumatic
just
for
under
sure.
Fires of Pompeii. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree on that. And it's interesting, like as she's trying to question him about where he's from, he keeps saying like not that he would know where it is, but he's really honestly just deflecting because he doesn't want to answer her and talk
Mm-hmm.
about it again, which again is like the Time War. This doctor is like literally just regenerated. He's fresh off from the
Yeah.
Time War. Gallifrey, his home planet, is destroyed.
Mm-hmm. I love the scene between him and Jabe when they're trying to figure out what's going on, and she's like, "I know who you are, and I'm so sorry." And I didn't. This is the first time I noticed this. He is actually teary eyed. Like he has like the single tear fall, and it that just made me so emotional. Like he's actually tearing up when they're having that conversation, and he
I
just doesn't
know.
say anything, but uh, it just speaks to how amazing Christopher Eccleston is in this
I
role.
know. Chris's acting in that moment was just so amazing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
the
later
doctor
on
needed
when
to hear
she
that.
definitely. I love later on when she's like, "Stop wasting time, Time Lord." It's such a good
Ah,
line, and it's
such a
probably
good
the first
line.
time someone has like said like he's had that moment with someone.
Yeah, it is. And I think as much as like if he heard that from Burroughs, it would still have impacted him, but I think he needed someone who knew of the Time Lords,
Mm-hmm.
who really sympathized. And you see that like when she said she's sorry, she's genuine. Like she's not just
She's
saying
very
it.
genuine. Their
She's
moment
just like
together, he like grabs her hand at one point. It's very
it's
sweet.
a very sweet, kind moment between the two of them that I think was beautifully done. But we did skip over the action part. The steward that was welcoming everyone, like he
Mm-hmm.
died because of one of the spiders, and then
Yeah.
the what was it? The filters basically start going down that are protecting them from the sun.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
That
that's
was
when they know
crazy.
something's wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like the whole satellite keeps moving and bumping, and then we're really all over the place, aren't we?
We've been going relatively in order.
We have.
Yeah. Yeah, and the scene to continue going being a little crazy when he's like having to get past all the fans, very intense, very scary, and he's able to get past most of them because Jabe is holding down the lever, which is really sad because that's when she dies, and
Yeah.
then he has to get past the last one, but it's going really fast, and I just love that moment where he just stops, closes his eyes, takes a breath, and is somehow able to get like just such a good moment.
Oh yeah, it's such a good moment because he had to do the lever because like that was the only way to get to the lever that would rise everything, like all the screens up, so that
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't all like burn and
Yeah,
die. And yeah, I love that scene. I think it's really sweet how Jabe was like go and do it, even though like she ended up dying. She really ended up saving everyone there on that satellite, and so
she did.
that I really do enjoy that scene. I enjoy just like the character building in this entire episode, even for the
Definitely.
characters that are like one-off characters. We just get it's like more rounded, and we just get more lore, and I really appreciate that in the second episode of a series.
Yeah, definitely. One to skip around a little bit towards the end. There's the scene they all come back into like the main party room, and he sees Rose, and Rose is all disheveled because she was almost burned alive by
Oh
the
yeah, we
sun.
didn't even talk about that. We didn't even talk
Yeah.
about how like all of the screens were going down and she was about to burn and the doctor was trying to like get them back up and then it wasn't working and then that's when he and Jabe had to go to like through the fans to get to that lever, all while Rose is like thinking she's gonna die. So
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's, yeah, very intense scene.
Very intense.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, Billie Piper's performance is great in that episode. I love how she tries to like get lower to like stop it. And one thing that did bug me was she was looking out at the window, and I'm like, don't. Why are you doing that when the screens are coming down? You're looking directly at the sun. You're gonna go
Honest
blind.
Honestly, I would probably do the same thing. I'm like, well, I'm dying. I might as well see what the sun looks like.
That's so fair. Um, but then I was gonna say I love I find it so interesting when they finally are reunited back in the room. He doesn't even ask Rose like, oh, how did you get out? Like, what happened? He just goes right back to Jabe's friends to tell them like what happened. Which,
Yeah,
yeah, very emotional. And then
it's very emotional. And in the chaos while all of this is happening, we get like this shot of the face of Boe, and the
mm,
face of Boe says, "This is the Bad Wolf scenario." I have never noticed that before.
I didn't notice that. Oh my gosh. Of course he said that.
I know. I had to rewind, and I was like, "What?" And yeah, it is the face of O saying this is the Bad Wolf scenario, which series one, we get all of these mentions of Bad Wolf, and I literally died last night when I watched that.
That is so interesting for so many reasons. The
What?
Face of Boe loves to just tease things because
He
season
does.
three, series three, he teases even more things.
Oh my gosh, he does. I think I want to, because I feel like I'm going to get in a rabbit hole talking about the face of Bo and Jack Harkness. So I'm going to wait to do that at the end of talking about this episode. So
Okay.
back to like in that moment post like the death of Jabe, the doctor like notifies like the trees. Sorry. The forest of shame. The forest of shame. And he's
Yes.
like, then we see him anger mode. He's like, what is going on? Whose fault is this? Like, whose
Mm.
spiders are these? Who is trying to kill everyone? And it turns into a space whodunit.
It does. It reminded me of the scene in The Unicorn and the Wasp
Oh
when they're
yeah,
trying to
a
find.
whodunit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forget that it is Cassandra and that she had like her decoy guys come in, and
She
they were
did.
fake basically. They were just an idea, as the doctor said.
Yeah, they're like something like the repeated meme. You're right. Like you said,
Yes,
they're
the
just an
repeated
idea,
meme.
which is kind of funny. Just the
It is
name.
funny. They should bring that back somehow. Do something with that.
That would be fun. They kind of give me the vibes of the headless monks that we see later on in Eleven's
Definitely
run.
headless monks vibes.
Yeah. And then we find out it is Cassandra.
And then she leaves, but the doctor's able to bring her back. But because she doesn't have the guys to moisturize her, she, for lack of a better term, explodes.
Explodes.
I
She
love the moment
does.
when Rose is asking the doctor to help her, to help Cassandra,
Yeah.
and he refuses. He says everything has its time, everything ends. And I don't know, I just very poignant showing where he is at this time, but we really see this character grow and change throughout this first series. So it's just interesting to see like where we begin and where we end up.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
something I really like about this first series is that all characters, like all main characters, truly do grow and have a lot of character growth. And I am very excited to talk about that more as we talk about more episodes because, like you said, we see the mindset Nine has now, where I would say even at the end of series 1, he may have approached it like a little bit differently with Cassandra.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I love scenes where we kind of see the dark side of what traveling with the doctor is like, and times where he's just not like he doesn't make the right choices, and times when the companions kind of suffer from it. We see that a little bit with Rose in this episode when she's having a hard time, and he's not really trying to like walk her through it or be supportive. He just kind of like they get into that whole argument. Uh, so I just the scenes where we see kind of the dark side of what it's like traveling with the doctor are really interesting to me.
For sure, for sure. And I do like the moment before Cassandra explodes where he's like to her because she threatens him, like she threatens everybody because like all she wants is this money, and it's basically her original plan was like a big insurance, not insurance scam, but like everyone was going to be like held hostage including her, and she was like the
Yes.
payout would have been so huge. And then when the doctor is like, really, all of this time and it still comes down to money, which
Mm,
is such a good line. But
definitely.
then after that, you know, she starts threatening the doctor and everyone else, and he's like, what are you going to do, moisturize me?
Moisturize me.
And I just
That's a
love the
great line.
cheekiness we get from Nine in this episode. And I also love like the interactions that Rose and Cassandra have throughout the episode.
The interactions between Rose and Cassandra are great, and Rose is like, I'm the last human. Like, uh, it's so good.
It it is. It's really good. And
Hmm.
I Cassandra is so ridiculous.
She
She's just
is.
really ridiculous with all of her surgeries. The allegations of her murdering past spouses. That's like an
Yes.
interesting one.
I love how the surgery she was trying to pay for was to bleach her blood.
Like, girl, that's problematic in so many ways.
Like, you don't need that, queen, I swear.
I swear you do not. You
Yeah,
do not. Um, but yeah, Rose is really going through it in this episode.
she is. She's having a rough time, and I love the scene towards the end of the episode, everything's kind of wrapping up, and she's at the big window. She's watching the world burn, and she's very emotional because everyone kind of missed the end of the world while everything was happening. And she's like, all that history, all those people, and we all missed it. Like, no one saw it. And we see her grieving for her home, and it's really sad.
It's really, really sad. And you know, we have that line again where like everything has its time and everything dies, Rose. But I
Hmm.
do really, I like at the end that the doctor takes her back home to
Me
show
too.
her humanity and to kind of show her that like through it all, like humans persist, like they
Hmm.
still exist, it's just not on earth. um and I also like how she's unsure because the doctor asks like, are you okay, like do you still want to travel, and she's like, I'm not sure. And then they just like end up getting chips, and I
I
think that was
know.
a perfect way to honestly end an episode like this, because I don't think there's like a way to answer that question after just seeing your home planet burn.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm with Rose. I think French fries fix everything.
Oh, they're so good. Um, there's like a few random things from this episode that are like, okay, that I think about. One of them is when the doctor is with Jabe when they're investigating.
Mm.
He basically what is it? He basically is like, I was on the Titanic is essentially what he said.
I
And
know.
I want a doctor story with him on the
I
Titanic,
know.
because he
The
was
real
like,
Titanic.
yeah, because he was like, I was on board another ship. They said that was unsinkable, but then I was like clinging to like an iceberg, and I just want that story.
I know. I want to see it too. Oh, that would
uh,
be interesting. We
so
kind of got
interesting.
it in Voyage of the Damned, but I want to see the real Titanic.
The real Titanic, the true real Titanic. Voyage of the Damned, by the way, is like a future episode. Hasn't happened yet.
Yes, we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, and back to like the end of this episode, I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm such a 13-year-old saying this. I love that Nine and Rose are holding hands and just smiling.
I know.
But
I
it's
love
not
when
like,
he grabs her hand and
Yeah.
we go back to the TARDIS.
and I just love that, and I think it's such a pure thing and like a comfort thing too that I just love. I love like this building of their relationship that we see in these first couple of episodes. And now back to the Face of Boe. Are you ready to hear my mini rabbit hole?
Yes, let's go.
So we know in series 3, like we mentioned, Captain Jack Harkness kind of in like a throwaway line, sort of, like as he's departing from the Doctor and Martha, he's like, yeah, they used to call me the Face of Boe when I was growing up. And
the Face of Boe, they called me.
Yeah, the Face of Boe, they called me. First of all, like watching that the first time, you're like, what
Gagged.
the heck? Gagged. Could not deal. It was so insane.
I think I cried.
No, I screamed. I literally screamed. But back to like this episode. So we like get that in series 3, but here we don't know it. But here's the thing, okay? In series 2, episode 1, titled New Earth, the Doctor and Rose. Anyways, there's a scene where Rose says, like, that's the scene of our first date, talking about the end of the world episode. Mm-hmm. It's mentioned in the end of the world that the Face of Boe invited everyone. So technically, the Face of Boe, aka Captain Jack Harkness, is responsible for Nine and Rose's first date. Even though they stumbled upon it, would it have happened if the Face of Boe hadn't invited everyone? Probably not.
I love that. It makes me so happy but so sad at the same time. He gets to watch their first date.
He does. A part of me, you know, it's just like a massive timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey moment when you really think about it. And it's honestly
funny that he makes that bad wolf line. Like, he's having a little meme amongst himself, like a little inside joke that they don't get.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Because bad wolf, that's, oh my gosh, you're so right. Oh, I cannot wait until like the finale of series 1 to just talk about it all. We're trying to hold off on talking about like future episodes a ton when we're doing recaps, but I cannot wait.
I know. I have a lot to say about those episodes.
I do too. So do you have any other things you want to mention?
I really love that scene when they're on the road in the middle of the street. First off, I know everyone walking by them was like, why are you standing here? You're in my way. But I still love that. And they're just looking around. And then he, for the first time, opens up as that he is the last of his kind. It's just him. And it's so sweet. And she has this moment where she says, you got me. And then they go get chips.
I love it so much, and I really need to expand my vocabulary instead of saying I love things so much, but it's just like true. And I really do enjoy the whole plot of this episode, and I like that we get all of these aliens and we just get to see like a different side than we saw in like the first episode, Rose, and it just like helps build the series up and build the foundation. And I really enjoy this episode. And I know the last episode I shared some like reviews of like the episode initially. I couldn't really find it this time.
Sad. If anyone knows how or where we can find like reviews or just comments about old episodes, let us know.
Yeah, specifically like series 1 and 2. Honestly, just series 1, I've been finding that's harder to find reviews of episodes. And honestly, it's just because it was probably because it was so long ago and not everything was talked about and shared online like it is now.
Or if it was, like, those, they just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But that was the end of the world, and what a toxic time it was.
What a toxic, tainted love time it was.
Oh,
because they played Tainted Love at the beginning.
I always forget that they played Tainted Love at the beginning. Next week, we will be discussing the episode The Unquiet Dead, which I'm excited about because I consider that the unofficial Ninth Doctor Christmas special. And we'll talk about it more in that episode.
We will talk about it more in that episode. We will see you then, and thank you for listening. And again, if you have any questions, comments, rants, suggestions, email us at timeywimePod@gmail.com. It will also be in our show notes, and share this podcast with other Whovians or other people you know.
You can find us on TikTok at timeywimePod
and Instagram with the same handle, timeywimePod.
Until next time, that's all we got. Thanks for listening.